We're going to learn some more vocabulary by making a program called Guess My Number. And what that is the user will be able to guess a number that's randomly provided by the program. And if they guess it, then the Scratch Cat will congratulate them. And if they don't guess it, then they'll be able to try again. For now, I'm going to give our user a limit of 3 tries. Okay? So let's see how this works. Well, I guess I'd like to still start when the green flag is clicked. Now, what we have to do is we have to pick a number that needs to be guessed and store it in a variable so that we can look at it later. So remember in the last video I mentioned how variables is like variables in math, where you have 2x plus 3 and x could be any number. Well, in computing, variables could be numbers, words, letters, sentences, but in this case, we're still just using numbers. And in computing, variables not only can be all these things, but they're also considered like a memory location. So whatever value you put in that variable gets stored to that variable. So whatever name you give the variable is like a name that you as a human understand, but the computer understands that as a memory location. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a variable, and I'm going to call it random number. Okay, and we're going to set random number to an actual random number. So we're going to use, there we go. We're going to use pick random from 1 to 10. So this will be a random number from 1 to 10. We're going to ask our user to guess a positive integer between 1 and 10. Okay? So we're going to say if the answer, right, is equal to, if the answer is equal to our random number, then our Scratch Cat will say yay. Correct. And it will stop everything that's going on. Okay? Otherwise, we're going to repeat this question 3 times. So how does this look? When the green flag is clicked, we're setting the random number, so it's a variable, so this will stay the same thing, to pick a number between 1 and 10. Oops, I should actually have this ask inside of the repeat. So let me fix that real quick. Okay, so then we get 3 attempts. The computer is going to ask, guess a positive integer between 1 and 10. So if the answer is equal to the random number, then yay, and everything stops and it won't repeat. Otherwise, nothing happens, so it's going to continue to repeat and ask you to guess again. Now it's only going to repeat 3 times, And this repeat block is called a loop. So we're continuing this loop until the answer is correct or we've guessed 3 times. So if we end up guessing 3 times, then our sprite's going to tell the user, sorry, you didn't guess the number. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. So the random number's 10. Let's say we don't know that, so we guess 4. Well, it's going to ask us again to guess the number. Let's get it wrong on purpose again and say 2. And then one more time, 8. And then the cat says, sorry, you didn't guess the number. Now let's try it again. The random number is 6. Let's get it wrong one time. Now let's get it right. And it says, yay, correct. And everything stops. Okay, so an important part of a loop is that you have terminating factors. So there's 2 ways it can terminate. It terminates if you guess correctly or once you've given 3 guesses. Okay, so it's important for loops to have something that terminates them, or else they become an infinite loop, which means they keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again, and it's not very good for your computer, so we don't want those. But they do have them in Scratch. They're called the forever block. I don't want to see them in any programs you make in this class. No infinite loops. Okay? So now we've used a variable. We've used a loop. There's a Boolean in there, right? So the Boolean is saying, the Boolean here is asking, does our answer equal our random number? This is our Boolean here. And in some cases it's true, in some cases it's false. We have our selection statement, our decision. So if this happens to be true, then we'll do this. Otherwise, we'll do something else. That's a decision that it's making, a selection. And we have a relation here with this equals. Now, I can make this a little bit more complicated. Let's say we want to give hints to our user. So say that they guessed a number that is less than the random number. Then our Scratch cat can give a hint to the user saying too low, which means that you'd have to guess higher. And what would something like that look like? Well, let's see. I'm going to take out this middle section here. So I'd like to use an if then else because we're checking for more than one thing. So we're not just checking if we're equal, right? We're also going to check if it's less than or greater than. But first, I definitely like to check if they're equal first because that's really the purpose, is that we're trying to guess a number. So I'm going to actually put that piece back in. It says if it's equal, random number is equal to our answer, then we want to say yay, correct, and then we want to stop everything. Otherwise, we want to continue in our loop and say else. We can actually nest another if then else inside of that else, right? So first we want to check for final conditions. Is it equal, right? So now we're saying, okay, well, what happens if it's not equal? Then we check if the answer that our user gives is greater than random number. Then we want Scratch Cat to say too large. else that means that the answer is less than the random number. So our scratch cat's gonna say too small. And then we know in which direction to guess to give us a better chance of getting it right. So let's test this out. So guess a positive integer between 1 and 10. I'm going to guess 2. Tells us too small. So I'm going to guess a bigger number, 8. It says too large. So let me go down and guess 6. Too large. And we didn't guess the right number because I already guessed 3 times. Let's try again. So now it's 2. Let me guess 7. It says too large. Let me guess 2. Got it correct, and it stops everything. What we have here is a loop that evaluates 3 times before it exits the loop. However, inside of the loop, we have a selection that says if we guess the correct thing, then we're going to stop everything, terminate that loop. Otherwise, we're going to evaluate some other stuff and keep looping. And what we have here, when we say something is greater than or less than, we are using another relational value. And that relation is also giving us another Boolean value, right? So if the answer is greater than the random number, it's resulting in a true or false value, which is a Boolean. All right.